Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show. Before the free show.
We're scrambling a little bit. It's because of the Kawhi Leonard news, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
We're all here because of the Kawhi Leonard news. Kawhi Leonard from Shams. I've never said his last. You know who Shams is?
I do not.
Okay, you're not an NBA guy. Shams Charania, I think it is.
Yeah.
Clippers
Something.
fear all NBA star Kawhi Leonard has suffered an ACL injury. Oh boy.
Who did that happen in the? I didn't watch the game.
I know he was playing Game 5.
I was gonna say, was
Game
that
4.
in the? Did he get hurt in the game
He
last
must have.
night, or was that because if?
Game 4 was a couple of
Yeah.
months ago. Yeah. So.
Well, I don't know. I need to know
It's
if that was in
rough.
the thing, because if not, someone's in big trouble if that was like a practice type
Yeah.
thing injury. I have no idea. I haven't been keeping
I
up.
don't know. It's all out. Anyway, welcome on into the pre-show before the free show. And you may notice, you heard those dulcet tones belonging to Greg Powers. We go over to the... oh my gosh. Oh my gosh!
We can pound it out at least.
Bang!
That's what's up.
We're
Welcome.
back! Look, RIP Power Zone. No promises we won't bring back the Power Zone.
It
But
is the Memorial Power.
It is the Memorial
It
Power Zone.
is actually like
Now it's the
Memorial
Memorial.
actually makes sense
Now
now.
it's the Memorial Power Zone.
Shahan will be very excited about that.
It's rough. Yeah, we've brought you back over to the big boy to the adults table.
I'm gonna have to get used to talking into the microphone.
You no longer. Yeah, I know. You should
Mhm.
sit
It is
back
different.
here, say what you want, do whatever you need to, etc., etc.
That was the
The-
one when I was hosting when you were gone. That was the one thing that like
Okay.
I really had to be cognizant about, because I was like, usually I can do like whatever, and guess what just follows me around.
So let me produce something on the fly.
Cool.
When we go to coaching school,
Yes.
and we do interviews with our friends at coaching school.
Yes.
Are we gonna? What's our mic situation gonna be? Are we gonna do headsets or are we gonna do stick mics?
It depends. That's still to be
Okay.
decided.
All right.
What do you prefer since you brought it up? I mean,
Well-
obviously you have it. Do you have
it
a
might be a
preference?
little bit loud, so you may need there's value in having the headsets
Mhm.
because you can listen. You can I can definitely hear you.
We will probably now that I think about it, we'll probably do headsets. The reason we weren't going before we knew it got canceled last year,
Mhm.
saying people behind the scenes of our thought process here, the reason we weren't going to do headsets is we're like, oh, there's like this virus thing going around. Like we can't we don't want
Disinfect it.
spit and stuff going. So it might be where we still try and figure out if we can do the stick mics just for one more year to kind of keep people not having to think about
We
that.
should probably bring both, and maybe we start with stick mics.
Yeah.
And then
If
we
it goes
see-
terribly.
and if he's going what?
Yeah.
What did you say? Then
It might be too. It might be one of those things where it's more of a we ask the coaches if they're comfortable with it type
Mhm.
of thing. Of just, hey, are you
Mhm.
cool with the headset? If not, we've got another mic for you as like a backup plan.
The pre-show before the free show, where you get to see how
you
the
just get to
sauce
see
is made.
you see how we produce a show.
Dude, yeah.
Do you want media beef? Do you like media beef?
What's wrong with media beef? Yeah,
You know,
let's
like
go- let's
media
go for it.
beefing. So the nominations for the Lone Star Emmys are out,
Okay,
and Football Friday, the crew is nominated for 2 Emmys.
nice.
How about
Congrats.
that? Very nice. Excited. Our producer, Brian Smith, our outstanding producer, Brian Smith, thinks we've got a pretty good shot this year, so that's nice. But in one of the, let's see, let me make sure I get this right. In one of the categories, Sports Program Live, okay, up for nomination, Football Friday, okay, the Battle of Beltline episode of Football Friday. That's
At
pretty
that
good.
game.
You scroll down, Rockets pregame from AT&T Sportsnet. I'm sure it's wonderful. Sports Sunday, our friend Randy McElvoy down at KPRC. The Silver and Black are on the fast track. Spurs Live.
Yeah, that's Rico.
So that's Rico, Matt Bonner,
Dan.
Dan, and Sean Elliott. I can't root against my friend Matt Bonner though.
Yeah, the Red Rocket, your boy.
But there's one other nominee. Stars Live, return to the Stanley Cup Final. Starring Brian Ray and Brent Severin.
Seve.
And I don't know if you know this, but Brent Severin, the former NHL enforcer, I don't want to say, what's the word, frenemy?
Oh yeah. No, anytime I would walk into the studio, he'd go, "Woof, here comes trouble."
We have a special relationship, Brent Severin and I, Now, he could 100% end my life.
Oh, Sevy's
Just
a big
not even-
dude.
He's a big dude. He played in the NHL. He's a fighter. Like, he would absolutely end me.
Severin's just a badass name.
He is.
He
Yeah,
is.
Brent Severin. He's Canadian. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
he says
scary.
a boat.
It's
a boat.
scary, right? It's scary. Now, Brian Ray, I think I could take. But Brent Severin, I'm scared of. So now I'm gonna start a beef with Brian Ray and Brent Severin for.
See, I thought you were trying to circumvent Severin.
Oh, I don't want any piece of him. But I think I'm going to start a beef with them and say, well, it's on now that we're up for the same Emmy. We'll have to see.
So this is future beef, not.
This is future. This is
Tepper trying to ignite the flame.
This
of
is
beef.
budding beef. This
Yeah.
is budding beef. That's what this is.
Makes sense.
Anyway, so congratulations to Brian Ray and Brent Severin and the whole crew over there at Stars Live, including our friend Vito and Elsie. Oh, good buddy. And Whitley Pleasant.
Yeah.
The dearly departed. She didn't
Yeah,
die.
she
She's
was.
at ESPN now.
Yeah, she was the AP for Stars Live.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anyway, congratulations to them, but I hope we crush you. That'd be super awesome if we won. Football Friday's never won an Emmy. I've got a
And
couple
now-
from Scoreboard, but I've never won one from Football Friday. And
Yeah.
the little show that could.
I was fixing to
That'd be
say,
pretty
like,
great.
that's awesome.
I know. All right, hit the theme expo. Let's go! Free money! Free
Ain't how to sing the blues, baby. Got a shot glass in your hand.
Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in Louisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show online. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine. This magazine. TexasFootball.com, a corresponding website's on the screen here. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, rather, whether you're watching us live at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, or you're listening to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. Sitting here in this chair, wearing a blue shirt, sitting over there in that chair. I don't know what color your shirt is. What
It's,
is it? Like maroonish?
No, it's black and gray.
It's the Duchess of the Dorks, Ashley Pickle. I don't know. It looks nice though.
Thanks. Are you legit colorblind or?
No, I just couldn't tell.
Oh.
The lighting and lights are in my eyes,
No.
and furthermore, like one of the problems is that I'm so starstruck because sitting to my right,
Look at him.
We're
your
back.
back from his time in the Dave
the
Campbell's Texas Football Day, Greg Powers Memorial Power Zone, R.I.P. It's Greg Powers, the next level athlete. Hey, buddy.
What's
back,
up?
Welcome back to the table.
Yeah, it's like a different experience.
I
It
don't know
is.
what to do with my hands.
I know it's very like because like I'm sure you got comfortable over there. It's
Right.
over there.
Well,
Well,
and it's a comfy
High power
chair
zone.
too.
Well, also, when you're in the power zone, we're in direct line of sight.
Yeah.
Of
Now
one
it's like you got
another.
to turn and
Yeah, you
look.
got to turn. It's it's a whole different experience. There's a camera now to look into, where multiple cameras, so it's like a real.
People wanted multi-view
production now.
of Powers. That's
Yeah.
that I was getting like
We want-
complaints. We're not watching the show anymore unless I've got Powers multicam.
We're not getting enough angles on.
Yeah.
Powers, is
What
the
could
question.
be a game changer for this week in recruiting is that I'll be able to see the highlights.
Okay.
go behind the
We'll
scenes.
fully pull this back. There's a monitor right here. I'm pointing to a monitor. Okay. And Powers was sitting in the power zone, which is over there, over the monitor. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would look at the reflection in this television.
At
Here,
times,
you can see
just
the
to
there.
see if
That's
they-
the monitor.
See it right there.
To see if they were playing.
Right there. That's the monitor. You can see the little
You can see a
reflection of
little
it.
bit of a reflection. You couldn't actually diagnose. you couldn't diagnose a highlight play, but you could see that the highlight reel was rolling.
What a
So
game changer.
what I would always do is I would watch the highlights, pre-show,
Like
and pick
memorize.
out like, okay, 10 seconds into this highlight reel, there's like a really good play, and I'm going to talk for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to say, and if you see on this highlight, this guy's going to do this.
So we were living in 2021 and Powers is in 2031 is
Amazing.
what we're saying here.
Amazing. Today is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. 162 days until Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Matt Tepper.
Hey, happy birthday to the better Tepper.
You've never met either of my brothers.
No, I haven't, but
She's
I'm just assuming.
Yeah, it's
What
the
about
better
Jeff? Hey, shout out Jeff.
Oh, yeah, also Jeff. I don't know. Matt likes my tweets, so I just assume that he's
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
like
Jeff's not
a
on
cool
Twitter.
person. I feel like he gets my humor.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he's got a good sense of humor.
Happy birthday to Matt Tepper,
Happy birthday,
who now gets to enjoy the 10-day span every year when he's 3 years older than I am.
Oh, yeah.
And that was always like that man. Growing up, he made sure to remind me every hour of that 10 days. It was a big. This is a tough span growing up. Anyway,
shout out to Andrew Christensen, who notes that I was clean shaved the last time I sat in this chair.
boy. That's,
Oh, man.
Today, this is episode 1187. On today's show, guys, This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Going to talk recruiting across the Lone Star State. And then, back half of the show, we are going to reveal the top 10s in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press preseason Class 2A rankings. Who's number one? Who's number two? I could go on.
All the way down to 10.
Find out.
We know how to count.
Find out the back half of the show. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Aaron Arbuckle, Rob Hadaway, Andrew Christensen, and Tony Blaylock. Welcome in, fellas.
Welcome in, my friends. And without further ado, it's good to have you back, buddy.
Let's do this.
I'm Greg Teffer. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
In Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting. Reunited, and it feels so good. With Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter. G Power Scout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter. Next Level D1. See his fine work at texasfootball.com/recruiting. And of course, this reunion episode is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express. Their logo is a chicken flying through the air.
Super chicken.
Have you ever seen the Chicken Express 18-wheelers? Legitimately? That's a good
No, I
question.
don't think I.
It's a giant yellow 18-wheeler, and the whole back portion of the actual truck is nothing but the super chicken.
Love it.
Like the whole length of the truck is the super chicken.
love
So
it.
that's like mega super chicken.
I also love that. I think the chicken may be wearing goggles. It's great. it's a good logo. This week in recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Hi, Powers.
Hey.
Let's start with our prospect on the rise, shall we?
do it.
Prospect on the rise is Arlington Seguin at tackle Quentin Harris. All 6'6", 280 of them. Don't stand in his way. He picked up an offer this week from SMU. He went on an official visit, and he goes, works for me. I'll commit. And so he is heading to SMU. He already had an offer from Kansas. SMU comes calling, an opportunity to stay home. He takes it. He has committed. Quentin Harris, the newest member of the SMU Mustangs class.
And Seguin's got some guys that are really coming up in the recruiting world. As a matter of fact, Xavion Bryce picked up an offer from Texas this week as well. So they've been busy. And this is a guy with an extremely high upside. And as we watch his tape, you're going to kind of see that he's long and he has the frame that a lot of college coaches would look for, and really started to develop and come into his own. He's a guy who got reps as a sophomore, so he was on our radar pretty early and, had a scouting report, but just now started to develop the strength and power to be a bona fide guy that a school like SMU would look into. And the timing just synced up perfectly where he made his unofficial trip up to Dallas. They got to be able to see him in person, get a verified height and weight, and see what his body's morphed into, throughout the last time. Heck, it's been a year and a half since colleges have really been able to see these guys in person, and now there's just so much news happening, and so many guys I think are going to come out of the woodwork like this, who have really developed into what we would consider to be like top tier type of prospects, and we'll get to see and evaluate them more and more as time goes by. But there's a lot of things that are changing in the recruiting world, just kind of based around visits and the eyeball test, the good old eyeball test. It's ever important, and things are going to change just because coaches get a chance to do that.
He's probably the headliner on what is a very, very big Arlington Seguin offensive line. They've got
pretty impressive looking at these guys up front.
270, 255, 280 are their 3 returning starters. Plus
Wow.
they've got a junior at 6'2", 250. So they got some beef up there with the Cougars, and now an SMU commit with their
jersey
tackle.
game is strong too.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
saying.
I like that.
It is strong.
The kind of teal pants, the
Yeah.
light blue pants. Very good. Let's now move on to our commit of the week. Commit of the week is a little hard to explain. So there's a multifaceted here, okay? Talking about cornerback Marcus Scott II. Marcus Scott II is the number 57 prospect in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Hot 100 on texasfootball.com/recruiting. He was committed to LSU. He's a cornerback. Was committed to LSU. He has switched colleges, going across the SEC from LSU to Missouri. That's one note of this. The other thing we were able to confirm is that he is switching high schools. He was a big part. He's a burner. He was a big part of the Woodlands College Parks 4x4 relay team. Led them to a title?
Yep, state championship.
State championship. Now he is going to play for Conroe for his senior season. So however you want to classify him, the 2022 prospect, Marcus Scott, I guess now Conroe cornerback, Marcus Scott II, is now committed to the Tigers of Mizzou, not the Tigers of LSU.
As I update the graphic.
There you go.
And you'll remember just a few weeks ago, we had him as our featured recruit interview on this show. And he was a guy who was really high on LSU, right? So it was a little bit of a shock in some regards that he's made the decision to commit to another Tigers in the SEC in Missouri. But as a Missouri grad, you have to be pretty excited, I think, about a guy like Marcus Scott coming in and playing at that school, because he is that type of dude. 6'2", 170. He has the size, dream size for a guy who can run, flip his hips, hang with receivers. They don't often come in 6'2" packages. It's a rarity. Usually these guys grow and develop into safeties, but Marcus Scott has a unique set of skills that I think lets him stay on the island as he transitions to the next level. And this is just a monster pickup in the Lone Star State for Missouri, a school that I feel like needs to have traction in Texas to put together the right roster to compete in the SEC. There's a lot of good players in Missouri. There's some in Kansas, and
Not enough.
Yeah, they'll go to Georgia, they'll go to Florida some, but I think Texas could be a very fertile recruiting ground for them.
Well, not to get too far into the Missouri weeds here for a moment, but one thing that I think is interesting is if you want to say that I think their move to the SEC was more important to the long-term sustainability of their football program than A&M's move. What I mean by that is it gave them a way, and I know they were in the Big 12 with Texas and all the other teams in the state of Texas, but it to me gave them a little bit more of an inroad to come into the state of Texas and kind of wield that SEC, that SEC mallet, so to speak.
Right.
They were able to come in and do that, and so this is, and you're exactly right. There are a good number of players, most notably in St. Louis and Kansas City, but there are not enough for them to sustain a program. And so it's important for them to get guys like Marcus Scott, who's going to be a new Mizzou Tiger.
Just to put a number on it, I mean, I think I would feel comfortable. They need to come and get 4 to 5 guys every year.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that I think that you could look at and say, you know what, Nick Bolton was in that same probably 50 to 75 range in-state 3-star guy when he signed with Missouri to go on to be drafted in the NFL. I think Marcus Scott could be that type of guy, and he's a legitimate guy that's in that 4-star top 50 discussion.
Well, and that's a perfect thing for, recruits, too, that just want to get out of the state of Texas. Some people do not want to stay here, and that's a good selling point of, hey, it's out of the state, but it's not that far.
You can still play in the state of Texas. And so, it's an interesting situation there with Conroe cornerback Marcus Scott. He's changing all sorts of schools. We're talking This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. Let's go to our underclassmen of the week. Underclassmen of the week, let's go to the DFW Metroplex to Hazlitt Eaton, to VR Eaton High School. Talk about their tight end, Jaden Platt. Jaden Platt, 6'5", 235, and he is he's on a bit of a roll. Okay, he attended a camp in Ames, Iowa, got an offer from Iowa State. Very nice. Very quickly.
Yep.
Texas Tech's like, me too. Florida State, me too. A&M, me too. Oklahoma State, me too. Here's a guy. Was he on the varsity last year?
If he got varsity reps, it was limited, and Hazlitt Eaton has done something to me unique with a couple of their prospects, and I think it's a great message, and this is why I wanted to really feature Jaden Platt. Is Hunter Erb didn't play on the varsity team much as a sophomore either.
That's wild.
So he's a big time recruit, 4-star guy, committed to Texas A&M, had to earn his stripes playing down on the JV team. Not only to earn his stripes, but to get the necessary reps, I think, that helped turn him into that guy.
Yeah.
And they've done a similar thing here with Jaden Platt as well. It's just a unique thing that they're doing there, and it's now worked out great in back-to-back classes. I guess we're a little bit of a back-to-back classes. Hunter Erb and Jaden Platt. So two guys that have followed a similar roadmap, and it's something that you don't hear about that often.
No, you really don't, but it's a very interesting situation. And so part of me wonders, this also makes sense to me in the sense that, the timing, that here's a guy who, let's say if he does have varsity tape, he doesn't have a lot of varsity tape.
Right.
And
I haven't seen a varsity clip yet.
Yeah.
Maybe one.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but colleges ain't looking at JV tape.
Right.
No.
So he doesn't have any. He has very, very, very limited at most varsity tape. He goes to Iowa State at a camp and shows college coach. That's the first time these college coaches are looking at him, and they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, we want some of that." And then the whole, I don't want to say copycat thing, but basically word gets out that they've got that there's this kid at Hazlitt Eaton. That's a very interesting way of going about it. But for Eaton, look, obviously they want to build a program where it's like, we want you to get the seasoning on the JV, because even if he was really, I'm sure he could have seen some time at the tight end spot on the varsity spot on varsity.
Sure.
He's getting more reps. I don't think there's any way around him getting more reps playing at the JV level.
Well, 6'5", 235 sells itself, right? Whenever you go to a camp and you walk in, you're 6'5", 235. Where I think the JV tape can come in valuable for Platt is you walk through the doors at 6'5", 235, look great in a camp setting. They pop on the tape and they can see that, oh, well, this guy's lining up at wide receiver and he can run a little bit too. Mm-hmm. He moves really well. So I think that you can reinforce what you saw in person based around some JV tape and see what these guys are doing. But what is really getting Jaden Platt out there is his in-person performance. And he's one of these guys who, 6'5", 235 is big. He has pretty good footwork for a guy that big. And he has some training tapes on his Twitter and social media where you can go and see him, working with his private coaching and that kind of stuff and see how he really moves. But he is one of those guys who's going to be quite special, and you can see that offer list really start to take off. Everywhere he's camped, he's pretty much getting an offer.
Let's round it all out with our Recruit of the Week. Our Recruit of the Week, this is probably the biggest recruiting story of the week. Is that fair?
I mean,
it's up there.
It's a busy week.
It's a busy week, it's true. But one of the headlines revolves around 2022 Garland wide receiver Jordan Hudson. Jordan Hudson is the number 29 prospect in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Hot 100 at texasfootball.com/recruiting. He's got 21 offers from all over the place. He was committed to Oklahoma. You'll notice the tense of that verb. He is decommitted from the Sooners and has opened his recruitment back up. And you're not here making a prediction, but
no.
You have a lean.
Well,
you have a team that you're keeping an eye on.
SMU's running hot with Jordan Hudson right now, and Rashad Samples has built a great relationship with him. And if you haven't checked it out, check out DCTF's 2021 40 under 40 list. Coach Rashad Samples was one of those names on that list. He's one of the top recruiters in this area, and I think SMU is a school to watch in this recruitment. And it's quite interesting to see what SMU's been able to do with some of these top recruits, in especially the Metroplex. Mm-hmm. They've really done a really good job of getting guys interested in their brand, wanting to come play for SMU. And if they can get Jordan Hudson over the likes of offers from Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, that's really saying something to me. They did sign the state's most heavily offered man last year in Preston Stone. I think he had more offers than anybody else. So that was like a benchmark for them to set, and they had a really good class last year. But they are predominantly now a school that a lot of these big-time transfers look to go to.
Yes.
So spots in their recruiting class are going to be tight.
Mm-hmm.
And they now have an opportunity to target and really put a lot of time investment in going after elite players in the state of Texas. And this is one of those guys. Texas and TCU are also going to be in play here. He's got 21 offers. He could go, basically one of these guys who can pick his school, right? So it's not over by any means, but look for him to take a visit possibly to SMU this weekend, and I think they put themselves in a good spot here.
Very interesting. He's Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter. Next Level D1. See us find work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Next week, buddy, we're going to be in these chairs next to each other, hopefully, knock on wood, and we'll be talking State 7-on-7, right?
We will, and we'll also be in a serious food hangover from a delicious dinner at Bob's.
Very excited.
So pumped.
You want to stick around for the 2A ranking?
Let's do it.
All right. We're Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. If you want this bad boy, the 2021 Summer Edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It comes with 400 pages in it, too, not just the cover. If you want this,
even though the cover's pretty dope,
2021 Summer Edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, you can become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider, TexasFootball.com/subscribe. We will mail it directly to you. So, yeah, TexasFootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider. I guess there were people, maybe people are interested. Yesterday, there was some news that came down about the UIL allowing Friday night streaming.
Yes.
We can talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. I've kind of said my piece on it. I didn't think there was really any putting the toothpaste back in the tube there. We can talk a little bit about it tomorrow, but we are aware of the news. There's a story up on TexasFootball.com if you want to read about it. But the UIL will allow Friday night games to be streamed, regular season games to be streamed live. So if you're interested,
yes, and that means online streaming.
Online
just
streaming.
To clarify
yes.
that.
Yes, online streaming. They're not allowing over the air yet, or broadcast, or there's another word I'm missing. Linear.
It's over.
Linear.
Yeah.
It's the word linear.
Linear's fair.
So
over the air.
Anyway, we got a story up on TexasFootball.com if you're interested in that kind of thing. Okie dokie. Pickle and Powers.
Ranking season.
It is ranking season. We are announcing we're unveiling the top 10s of each classification in the 2021 Summer Edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. This bad boy. We have reached the 11-man ranks in the UIL.
We're
going
have.
to do Class 2A. And a reminder, there are expanded rankings of every classification in the state of Texas in the magazine at Texas, or on which you can get at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. So make sure you get that. We have expanded rankings, including the top 25s of the 2A rankings. We're going to start with 2A Division 2, the smallest 11-man classification in the UIL, unveiling the top 10 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football, starting with the Vega Longhorns are the number 10 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. A regional semifinalist from a year ago is going to be experienced. They've got 14 starters back from last year's squad that went 10-3. The Vega Longhorns checking at number 10 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Staying in Region 1, the Wink Wildcats are number 9 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. I'm particularly high on this team. I think this team's got a really high upside. They've got 13 starters back from last year's team. Remember, they ran into Wellington in the second round of the playoffs, gave them everything they wanted. They've got a talented wide receiver, a talented quarterback, some talented offensive linemen. Keep an eye on Wink. They are the number 9 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Number 8. How about more from Region 1? The Stratford Elks, the number 8 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football, a team that caught fire late last year, running all the way to the regional semifinals. This is a team with tons of speed, 15 starters back from last year's squad. Keep an eye on the Elks. They're the number 8 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Finally, out of Region 1, we go to number 7, checking on the Tennehaw Tigers, the number 7 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. A 10-3 team from a year ago, district champions, brings back about half their team from last year's regional finalist squad. So this is a team that, again, per usual, is going to be all speed. This is a very fast Tennehaw team. Keep an eye on them. They are the number 7 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Longtime Region 4 powerhouse Falls City checks in at number 6 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Last year, an 11-3 mark, ran all the way back to the state semifinals. This is a team that's going to bring back a fair amount of experience, right? This is a team that's got, I believe, 8 starters back on the offensive side for Mark Kiroff's Beavers. Keep an eye on Falls City, the number 6 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Into the top 5 we go, where we find the Albany Lions checking in at number 5 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Another 10-win season for Coach Denny Faith under his belt. This team is going to, I think, lead with their defense. Expect to see an outstanding defense for Albany. They are the number 5 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. They're a Region 2 team. So is our number 4 team. The Munster Hornets are the number 4 team at Dave Campbell's Texas football. Ran all the way to the regional finals last year before falling to eventual state champion Windthorst. This is a team that I think has plenty of pedigree, plenty of reason to believe that they're going to do it. Brady Carney, I think one of the most underrated coaches in the state. 14 starters back for the Munster Hornets. They're number 4. Who's number 3? The defending state champs, the Windthorst Trojans, the number 3 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football after their shocking upset over Mart to win the 2A Division II state championship. This is a team that I think is going to be really good up front. They lose a lot of their skill position from last year's squad, so they're going to have to replace some of those guys. But I do think that Chris Tackett's squad is going to be back in the mix. The defending state champs, Windthorst Trojans, the number 3 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Who's number 2?
Wellington.
The Wellington Skyrockets are number 2 in Dave Campbell's Texas football, bringing back, I believe, 12 starters from last year's squad. This is a very fast and strong team, maybe not as deep as they usually are, but this is a team that's got some pretty good experience. They have a couple of big shoes to fill, but I think this is a Wellington team that probably starts as the favorite in Region 1. They start the year number 2 in Dave Campbell's Texas football, which leaves just the number 1 spot belonging to...
How about them Panthers?
The Mart Panthers. Of course, the coming into last year, the 3-time defending state champions fell in the title game. But remember, that was a pretty young team. This is a team that brings back 10 starters on defense, not to mention 7 starters on offense. They need a couple of leaders to step up, but Kevin Hoffman certainly using last year's shortcomings in the title game to fuel their rise. The Mart Panthers, the number 1 team in 2A Division II to start the year in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press Texas High School football rankings. So there's 2A Division II, Pickle. What do you think about 2A Division I? Do you think we should roll those out today?
I've got them up and loaded, so let's do it.
Okie dokie. We are rolling out the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press top 10 in 2A Division I, starting with the Knights of Lindsay, the number 10 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. An 11-1 year from last year. This is a team that has an absolute firecracker offense, led by their quarterback, whose name is escaping me right now. Oh my gosh, who's the Lindsay quarterback?
If you wouldn't have teed it
I
up,
know,
I would have
the
just
problem
knew
is, hold on, I'm gonna get this. It's escaping me at the moment. Cole Chuckers.
There
I'm sorry,
we go.
He's got that lettuce.
Shuckers.
He's got that lettuce. Outstanding hair, outstanding quarterback,
got a
and outstanding
great
team
set
for
of hair.
Lindsay. They start the year number 10 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Number 9.
The Bearcats.
The Hawley Bearcats are the number 9 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Very excited to see what Hawley is able to do this year after last year's 10-3 run, ran to the regional semifinals before falling to Cisco. Plenty of skill positions back, players back from this Hawley team, but they do have some offensive linemen to replace. That's going to be a key component for Hawley, but we like what the cut of their jib. I like Hawley as a number 9 team. Number 8. Let's go to the wide open world of Region 3 to talk about the Garrison Bulldogs. I like this Garrison team a lot. Bringing back 9 starters on both sides of the ball, a remarkably young team that ran all the way to the regional semifinals last year. They have returning starters at every single position, which is impressive. They have to replace a couple of linebackers. They do have another year under this new staff. This is going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. Garrison, the number 8 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. To number 7, the New Deal Lions are the number 7 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. A disappointing 5-4 season last year, ending in an upset loss to Olton in the first round of the playoffs. But this is a team that figures to be very strong. They bring back all but 2 starters on both sides of the ball. This is a team that I think has plenty of firepower. They've got good size. They've got good speed. They've got pretty much everything that you want. Maybe not as deep as you'd want, but I think this is a strong year for New Deal, the number 7 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football.
That revenge tour vibe about them.
To Region 4 we go. The Mason Punchers are the number 6 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Last year, a bit of a up and down season for the Punchers, coming off of their state title. But this is a regional. This is a team that I think is going to be one of those triumvirate of squads in Region 4 that is going to make a run. This is a team that I think is going to be pretty young. But there's a lot of hope in Mason that this is a year that the young guys are going to step up. I like Mason this year. Keep an eye on them, the number 6 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Into the top 5 and over to Region 1 we go, where we find the favorites in the preseason. The Cisco Lobos, the number 5 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Last year's regional finalist, I think, is going to have a very impressive squad this year. Quarterback, offensive linemen, they look really, really good. This is a Cisco team to keep an eye on. I believe they start the year favorite in Region 1. They start the year number 5 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. To number 4. The Crawford Pirates are the number 4 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Of course, a state semifinalist from a year ago. This is a squad that I think has a chance to be really special. They need to find a quarterback and get a little bit better and be a little bit bigger in the trenches. But this is a squad in Crawford that is absolutely loaded with pedigree. 6 starters back on both sides of the ball and a winnable region there in Region 2. I like Crawford a lot. They are the number 4 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Into the top 3, where we find one of the biggest surprises from last year, the Timpson Bears, the number 3 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. The state semifinalist from last year brings back a ton of playmakers. 9 starters on offense, including super sophomore Terry Bussey. This team is going to be legit at 2A Division I. Keep an eye on Timpson, the number 3 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Number 2. The Shiner Comanches are the number 2 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Of course, the defending 2A Division I state champs bring back a lot of exciting playmakers, including the Brooks brothers, Dalton Brooks and Doug Brooks, back in the mix. They have a couple of pieces to fill, but this is going to be a fast, physical team that should challenge for another state championship. They're the number 2 team to start the year in Dave Campbell's Texas football, which means there's only one. The number 1 team, the Refugio Bobcats, start the year top-ranked in Dave Campbell's Texas football, coming off of a loss in the quarterfinals to Shiner last year. This is a team that brings back a ton of speed, and 9 starters back on offense, 7 starters back on defense, and one of the very best coaches in America in Jason Herring. They start the year number 1 in Dave Campbell's Texas football, the Refugio Bobcats. Of course, complete rankings and expanded rankings of every classification in the state at texasfootball.com/subscribe to get your 2021 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas football.
A team that we have seen in the past for many years that I think threw people for a little bit of surprise, the Pied Pipers out of Hamlin. But I think that you got to remember that, one, they are losing a pretty solid group there. And the other thing is, too, Russell Lucas is not there as coach anymore.
Part of it is the coaching change.
He left for Sweetwater.
Part of it is that they bring back, I believe, a single starter on defense. And, I mean, this last year was an extremely senior-heavy team.
Yes.
They graduate 14 lettermen, okay? That's twice as many lettermen as they return. They got wiped. And so now we still pick up the 2021 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas football. You may see them in the top 25, hint, hint, but that is a team that got really hammered by graduation. And you add in the coaching change, we're a little bit cautious on Hamlin this year. So.
I love watching 2A football, especially the top recruits. And Shiner has those Brooks brothers. They're a lot of fun to watch. Tennehaw, for me, is a team to watch because they have Jeremy Patton.
Yes.
If you're looking at a team that has that one guy, Jeremy Patton could be the guy that moves the needle for me in that regard. But to me, the question mark is Mart. What are they? No Rodrell Freeman.
I know.
But they have I think his name is Clydarian Campbell, running back who's really special. And there's a trio of medlocks down there who are all going to be really good. So I think that they're not going to be hurting for talent.
They're going to look different. They're going to look different because I think a lot of last year, and I'd love to ask Kevin Hoffman about this, but a lot of last year was they got really reliant on Rodrell Freeman just being the best player and the most dominant player on the field.
Yeah.
They're going to have to spread it out a little bit more this year, but Mart does start the year number 1. We really like this team, especially the 10 starters coming back on defense is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they only, it's kind of, they bring back they only lose 6 Letterman. Now, one of those Letterman is one of the best, I think was he a 2A player of the year? He might have been a 2A player of the year last year.
I believe
that sounds right. I would need to check that out. But I mean, you're losing that guy. But this is an absolutely experienced Mart team, of course, that pedigree there.
It's just a lot of talent, it seems like, on both sides of the football.
Well, and I
they're
joke.
a powerhouse. They're going to rebuild.
Well, and you joke.
So
it's
saying
not
there's a reason.
rebuilding, it's reloading.
Well, and you can joke with because Mart's a small town, but you joke with Kevin Hoffman, like how many of these guys are like somehow related to Quan Cosby?
Yeah.
Like a lot of them. Like the
Most
whole
of them.
town of Mart is like just one big family reunion down there. But they've got a lot of talent down there in Mart. They start the year number 1 and 2 in Division 2. Now we go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts. Who are people mad that is not ranked?
Hamlin was the only, I think, real surprise. I would say that was
I'll say the other one.
fairly chalky. I think that you can go either way with the Shiner Refurio at any given year.
That was
so
one.
I don't
That
think
was
it's
one of the
surprising.
tougher calls for us.
What about Post too?
How about that? Of course, the
Antelopes.
2-time defending state finalists are not in the top 10. I will say, pick up the magazine. They start the year in the top 25. You can see where. But this is another team that got absolutely clobbered by graduation.
Yes.
They lost they bring back, let's see. They bring back 5 Lettermen from last year. They lose 18. I mean, they got hammered. They were super senior heavy last year.
I think going into that state championship game, there was not a doubt in any Post fans' mind of going, this is our year.
This is the year. It's got to be the year.
If we're going to get it done, we have to do it right
Well,
now. And obviously,
even
eventually
go
ended up losing.
back. I guess you were with us because you went out there when we saw Post in that semifinal against Valley View when they made it their first ever state championship game.
Number 11.
We remember, if you remember us talking about, we were like, Post is really good. They just won that game, and they're like, they're going to be back next year.
They're going to be back. Yeah,
but that was a 1-2 punch. That was 2019, 2020.
That
2021 going to be a bit
class.
more of a rebuilding year for Michael Pittman and company. So that's where we're at on that.
It'd be fun to revisit picks like New Deal.
Like
Go
New Deal.
back and look
New
and
Deal's a bit of
see see how we do on
New
those.
Deal is a bit of a projection, but we like what they have coming back.
I said they've got that revenge tour energy. You can feel that.
Exactly. It's going to do it for us. Powers, thanks for doing this.
Let's do it again next week.
Yeah, we'll do it again next week, but I'm going to see you on Tuesday, though, right?
Bobs.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. For Greg Powers and Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. You want to do this? You haven't been over here in a while.
Vince Young, I demand you to come and get your Player of the Year trophy.
We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.